young women like you should stay in dirty waterholes. An underprivileged black teenager shows up at the national swimming competition wearing a worn-out bathing suit, only to face ridicule from her privileged white competitor. She gets assigned to the poorest lane. Nobody believes she can win, yet she breaks a new record. Then her victory gets erased. The trophy goes to her tormentor, but fairness won't remain silent, and during the rematch, the entire nation sees what can no longer be denied. Before we jump into this tale, tell us your location. We'd love to hear your thoughts. The atmosphere in the competitors' area was heavy with antiseptic and perspiration scents, combined with the rapid rhythm of footsteps. Lena Johnson, aged 15, walked alongside her mother, carrying a worn fabric swimming bag over her shoulder. Her youthful face showed signs of nervousness, yet her eyes sparkled brightly, scanning everything around her, attempting to absorb it all. This marked her debut at such a major swimming event, the National Junior Swimming Championships. Everything appeared more brilliant and magnificent than any pool she had ever experienced. This location. It feels so unlike anything I know. Lena discreetly adjusted her bag strap. For her, this competition represented more than a simple race. It was her opportunity, her single shot at leaving their deteriorating neighborhood behind, at escaping the evenings when her mother returned home with weary shoulders after working overtime, at escaping the existence she no longer wanted her mother to endure. This was everything she could hold on to demonstrate her value, not only to herself, but to her mother who had given up everything. Her mother, a petite woman with worry lines across her forehead, grasped Lena's hand firmly. Her rough hand softly pressed her daughter's, like silent support and an unspoken vow. "I'm here for you always, sweetheart." They passed spotless white walls, cheerful conversations from other teams echoing nearby, like a realm completely separate from their everyday existence. Then they paused. Right at the women's locker room entrance, a cluster of people gathered together. At the center stood Clara Callahan, 16 years old, gleaming like a celebrity among her followers. She hadn't changed into her swimsuit yet, still dressed in costly branded athletic clothing, a navy blue Shark Club team jacket draped around her. Her golden hair was perfectly pulled back, her face subtly but expertly made up, projecting an aristocratic elegance nobody could question. Even her posture, with a slight curve in her spine, emanated the self-assurance of someone perpetually the focus of attention. Who might this be? Clara briefly glanced at Lena and her mother. The smile disappeared from her face, replaced by a disdainful sneer. Her stare focused on the old bag across Lena's shoulder, then moved down to her mother's weathered t-shirt. From childhood, Clara had been instructed by her influential mother, Eleanor Callahan, that society was split in two, those with position and those below them. Everything was evaluated by looks, by possessions, by rank. The modest, shabby appearance of Lena and her mother instantly activated that sorting mechanism within her, a recognition of those who don't deserve to be here. She remained silent, simply shaking her head slightly. A minor action that was sufficient for Lena to sense the disdain flowing through that glance as clearly as ice-cold water thrown in her face. These ordinary people daring to appear here, how absurd, they're all over the place. Clara turned away, continuing her discussion with her coach, but Lena felt that contemptuous stare still burning into her back. Lena pressed her lips together, heat rising within her. Her mother squeezed her hand once more as if reminding her to keep composed or maybe to comfort herself. "Pay them no attention, sweetheart. Let the water do the talking for you." They stepped into the changing area. The smell of soap and chlorine mixed in the air. Inside, the preferential treatment became even more obvious. The Blue Shark Club section was separated by curtains, furnished with padded benches and personal lockers. Lena, along with several other swimmers, had to crowd into a tiny corner, with aged rusty metal lockers and cold bare benches. As Lena struggled with her corroded locker combination, she accidentally heard a competition official speaking to Clara's coach. "Don't be concerned, she'll receive the premium lane. Everything has been coordinated." The voice was barely audible, but Lena caught every word distinctly. She glanced toward the curtained section where Clara was getting ready. A gnawing pain mixed with frustration and burning anger grew within the young girl. The sensation of being dismissed, of being pushed to the side, returned stronger than before. They've arranged it, so what happens to people like me? Does my hard work count for nothing? Or are all my efforts worthless against these arrangements? Lena felt as though an invisible barrier stood towering in front of her. Absolutely not. I won't allow them to do this. Lena put on her old swimsuit. The navy suit was bleached with some worn edges, completely different from the gleaming, tight-fitting new suits of the other competitors. She pulled back her dark brown hair, but several strands still refused to cooperate. As she stood facing the mirror, her gaze suddenly wandered, past the noisy changing room back to where she truly came from. Lena's thoughts drifted to a recognizable place, a deserted pool in a partially constructed facility. The walls were marked with mold and green growth, broken bricks scattered around. The water was cloudy, covered with a misty green layer, appearing identical to a stagnant pond. Yet brilliant rays of sunlight cut through the deteriorating walls, streaming down into the pool, forming a peculiar, sorrowful beauty. It was there, at only 12 years old, with her shoulder-length brown hair and sun-touched skin, that she would remove her worn shoes and dive in without pause. The water's splash shattered the decaying quiet of the location. In that water, she wasn't the impoverished Lena from the run-down neighborhood. She wasn't the girl people dismissed. Water was the sole place she didn't feel powerless, where all criticisms disappeared. Water held her, soothed her, and it was also where she discovered her most fundamental power. She swam, length after length. Each stroke was like slicing through the surrounding deterioration, an attempt to flee the harsh reality, a personal validation. She swam without stopping, measuring her breathing, rehearsing turns at each pool end. No instructor, no training partners, only the water's sound and her consistent pulse. She wore an old swimsuit, resembling a mix of swim shorts and a fitted tank top. Late in the evening, when her mother came home from work, Lena would secretly stay up. Her mother would sit beside her bed, her exhausted but caring hand softly touching Lena's head. "My precious," her mother's voice was tired but tender. "Other children have instructors, you have your own pulse. It will always be honest with you. Pay attention to it, Lena. It shows you what's genuine. It shows you where your power lies. My pulse. It doesn't deceive. It tells me I must struggle to trust in myself. I won't let them dismiss me any longer. This competition isn't merely a race. It's a commitment to Mom, an escape from hardship. Evidence that Mom's dedication and my effort aren't wasted. This is everything I possess." Lena used an old elastic band to secure her hair, wearing her father's damaged watch where only the second hand functioned. To measure herself, each stroke in the murky water was a commitment, an unwavering resolve. She wasn't just swimming to grow stronger but to survive, to demonstrate her value, not to the glamorous world beyond, but to herself and to the commitment she made to her mother. Lena breathed deeply, bringing herself back to the present. Her face no longer showed its earlier confusion. Instead, there was a remarkable steadiness, a burning flame of determination in her dark brown eyes. She was prepared to emerge and confront everything. Fluorescent lights poured down onto the competition pool, transforming the peaceful blue water into an enormous cold reflection. The sharp smell of chlorine, nearly overwhelming, was absorbed by the whispers of thousands of spectators. The gentle lapping of water from various lanes merged with the rapid beating of hearts waiting for the start. In the towering bleachers, people held their breath, turning the ocean of faces into a tense, motionless crowd, simply awaiting the starting signal. Lena stepped onto the starting platform, her body in her swimsuit, her dark brown hair neatly secured back. Her gaze moved across the lanes, pausing at lane 5. Clara Callahan stood there, brilliant in a sparkling metallic swimsuit, her golden hair smoothly braided. Her face maintained its arrogant expression, but a trace of tension appeared in her eyes, evidence of the invisible stress from Eleanor, her mother's constant expectations, and the reputation she needed to maintain. The official was ready, raising the starting pistol high. In that destined moment of quiet, when everyone's attention was about to climax, Clara Callahan suddenly turned, a purposeful, provocative action. Her stare was frigid, filled with disgust. Her head angled slightly, a half-smile forming on her lips. Her expression was like a sharp blade, cutting directly through the already stifling silence. "See how pitiful you are." Clara's voice was piercing, loud enough to cut through the air and reach not only Lena, but also the nearby spectators. "You belong in some swamp, not here. This pool isn't meant for garbage like you. Worthless people will forever be worthless." In Clara's thoughts, these words weren't merely insults. They were a declaration of rank, an effort to crush any emerging hope from the lesser one. She was too accustomed to everything going her direction. Lena's presence, particularly her undeniable skill, was an unacceptable offense to the worldview her mother had constructed for her. The crowd started murmuring at Clara's arrogant behavior, several uncomfortable glances turning toward her. I must silence this girl from the beginning. I must demonstrate where she belongs. A little black girl from the ghetto shouldn't fantasize about claiming my position. This is my domain, and I won't share it with anyone undeserving. I must prove I'm the powerful one, and they'll forever be at the bottom. Lena's body tensed slightly, a natural response to a sudden assault, but immediately afterward a blazing fury ignited in her eyes, impossible to conceal. She gripped her hands so firmly her fingernails pressed into her skin as if to contain the rising rage. A knot of resentment formed in her throat, but she spoke no words. That was a logical decision. Replying with words would only bring herself down to her rival's level. Lena selected the alternative approach, to let her performance speak. She trusted in her own power and the commitment to her mother. She simply stared directly at Clara, her gaze steady, filled with defiance and determination. That wasn't the expression of the defeated, but a silent promise, an unspoken pledge. No words necessary, the water will respond. You'll witness. You'll regret those statements. Mom was correct. My pulse never deceives. It will lead me. This time I'll battle for everything because people like you don't merit it. The whistle sounded, sharp and powerful like a signal for a fresh start. Both competitors dove into the water. Clara launched like a bolt of lightning, her forceful stroke displaying superior skill. She swam as if wanting to tear through the water, but each stroke carried an invisible burden of worry and stress, the stress to succeed at any cost, to prove herself deserving of the Callahan reputation, not just to her rival but to her family and herself. Lena kept her familiar pace, gracefully merging with the water. Each stroke, each kick was consistent like a peaceful tune amid disorder, moving effortlessly as part of the current. This isn't merely a race, this is my expression. I won't stay quiet any longer. I'll swim for fairness, for those who trusted in me, for my mother, for everyone who was dismissed. She swam, not to defeat her opponent, but to surpass herself, to overcome the shadow of injustice. Lena slowly narrowed the distance, bit by bit. The applause from the crowd started to shift, from an expectation of Clara's victory to surprised gasps as they witnessed Lena push forward. Then she decisively moved ahead of Clara. The gap expanded, meter by meter, like an undeniable statement. Lena reached the wall first. The touch was powerful, definitive, water splashing around her. She looked up, wonder and fulfillment, clearly apparent as she saw the scoreboard. The time displayed clearly. Lena Johnson, new record. I achieved it. I truly achieved it. All the work paid off. I didn't disappoint Mom. I grabbed this chance. I accomplished it, Mom. The complete audience was shocked. No instant cheering. Then came whispers, mixed with amazed and somewhat doubtful looks at the obvious outcome. From the stands, Lena's mother leaped to her feet, hands covering her mouth, her eyes filling with disbelief. Pride and joy overflowed, and she tried to hold back the choked cry in her throat. She gazed at Lena, her eyes shining as if to say, "My daughter, you succeeded. I am so incredibly proud of you." The referee, his face showing concern, repeatedly glanced toward the VIP area and the organizing board. Sweat formed on his forehead. "We must examine the timing equipment in lane 6, he stuttered. His gaze shifty. "There appears to be a major malfunction. This outcome requires investigation." In his thoughts, his career and role were in jeopardy. His eyes kept moving toward the VIP section where Eleanor Callahan and other influential figures sat. "Damn it! I can't allow the Callahan girl to lose. There will be serious consequences. I must find a solution." The crowd started to feel troubled. A sense of uncertainty spread. 3 days afterward, the official statement was delivered, presented in a dry, authoritative tone from the organizing board. Due to a major technical malfunction in Lane 6 timing equipment, the race outcomes have been voided. Based on qualifying times and overall performance, Callahan has been chosen to represent the state. The explanation of major technical malfunction was stressed, a too obvious effort to justify the ridiculous decision. Local press, already acquainted with the Callahan family's story, reported extensively, emphasizing the family's reputation and dismissing any doubts. They celebrated Callahan's tradition of excellence, completely overlooking Lena. That evening Clara shared a photo on social media, a bright smile, a shining trophy in her grasp as if proof of her triumph. The message was defiant. Dedication succeeds. True champion heritage, no excuses. She intentionally displayed her victory, her eyes casting a distant look like a mocking message directed to Lena. Even though she knew she had been defeated, Clara had to keep the appearance of a winner. This was the only method to satisfy her mother and to reassure herself against the embarrassment of loss. See, regardless of how much you struggle, I'm still the one who succeeds in the end. I create the rules. You're just a piece in my game. A worthless black girl will forever be worthless. Mom was right. This world operates her way. In another section of the city, Lena sat quietly in her small kitchen, staring at the announcement on her phone. Tears didn't come, but her heart tightened, a sharp ache. Her mother sat next to her, her rough hand gently stroking Lena's messy hair. Her face was full of sadness, of understanding, her eyes moist with tears. She said nothing, but her gentle squeeze of Lena's hand, her shoulders shaking, was enough for Lena to know her mother was suffering with her, my child. Her mother's voice whispered, filled with emotion. I'm sorry, I don't know what to do. Lena looked up at her mother. The anguish in her mother's eyes was even deeper than her own. She rested her head on her mother's shoulder, feeling her warmth and safety. You don't need to say sorry. I know you've done everything for me. I won't surrender. I'll prove to them this isn't over. She held her mother's hand firmly, sending a silent message of strength. But the following morning, as Lena slept, a quiet tempest developed in her mother's heart. Her mind raced, replaying every second of Lena's race, every victorious stroke, every tear of happiness followed by the cold, dismissive statement. How could they simply erase her daughter's win? How could they invalidate Lena's complete existence, her constant effort, her single opportunity? The unfairness burned within her, a fire hotter than any rage she had ever experienced. No, I cannot allow this to continue, she whispered to herself. My child gave so much sweat, so many tears. She is my hope, the brightness in this life. They cannot steal that away. If I don't act, I will never forgive myself. Driven by a raw maternal pain she couldn't endure, she put on her cleanest, though still worn dress and traveled alone to the National Swimming Federation's regional office. Her heart raced in her chest, a combination of fear and fierce resolve. She had never entered such a grand, intimidating building. Each step felt difficult, but the image of Lena's hopeful face urged her forward. She brought no official papers, only the burning belief of a mother whose child had been wronged. She found herself in a spotless, intimidating lobby. After a lengthy wait, she was finally given a brief meeting with a middle-level official, a man with a cold, dismissive stare. She attempted to explain, her voice shaking but steady about Lena's dedication, about the clear result, about the injustice. The official simply listened, then leaned back, a slight sneer on his face. Lady, he said, his voice filled with condescension. We value your concern, but the decision is final. Technical malfunction, these things occur. He waved a dismissive hand. Honestly, people like you don't grasp the complexities of elite sports. Please, you're creating a disturbance. This office is not for ordinary complaints. He motioned toward the security guard. As the guard started to escort Lena's mother out, gently, but firmly, her voice increased, tinged with desperation. But my daughter worked so hard, she swam with everything she had. This is all she possesses. You cannot just steal her dream away. Her appeals echoed through the silent, luxurious hallway. Her eyes filled with unshed tears, but she refused to let them fall, holding on to every last bit of dignity for her daughter's sake. Her heart hurt, not for herself, but for the deep disappointment Lena would experience. The dream crushed by the powerful hands of those who cared only for status. Unknown to them, Alex Miller, a tech-savvy swimming fan who had been following the controversy and quietly collecting footage from the competition, was there. He had come hoping to get some official comment, perhaps even an explanation for the strange decision. He was hiding his small, high-quality camera carefully, still recording everything he saw just in case. He witnessed the entire humiliating scene. Lena's mother, a woman clearly out of place in this wealthy world, being dismissed, silenced, and then physically removed, her dignity destroyed, but her spirit intact. He saw her tear-stained face, the pain in her eyes, and the quiet determination as she was led away. Alex's hand tightened on his camera. The raw injustice he had just witnessed, combined with the clear footage he already had of Lena's genuine victory, sparked something fierce within him. His earlier hesitation disappeared. This wasn't just about a broken timing system. It was about power, privilege, and destroying the spirit of the deserving. He returned home, a fury simmering beneath his calm exterior. He carefully reviewed his footage, cross-referencing timings, proving beyond question Lena's legitimate victory and the undeniable contempt shown by Clara. He edited the video, adding the clear title, "The Girl Who Was Robbed Will Finally Speak," and uploaded it, along with a detailed technical analysis and a moving description of what he had witnessed in the Federation office. He knew this was the only way. The video spread like wildfire. Initially, only within the swimming community, then it exploded on major social platforms, gaining millions of views and angry comments. The hashtag Justice for Lena went viral, appearing everywhere on social media and even in small news stories. It created public pressure weighing on the Swimming Federation and the Callahan family, forcing them to respond. Alex Miller, though still anonymous, became a silent hero, igniting a furious wave of demands for justice that could not be ignored. Under the unavoidable pressure and alliance of veteran former athletes, who felt insulted by the incident and wanted to restore swimming's integrity, social activists and Alex himself organized an independent competition called Swim for Justice. The event wasn't as glamorous as the federal meet, but the atmosphere was filled with passion, fairness, and anticipation of those who loved justice. Clara was forced by her family and club to participate in the Swim for Justice event to clear her reputation and save face after the scandal. She had no choice but to obey her mother Eleanor's command. The fear of her mother's disappointment was greater than anything. She stepped into the changing room of the independent event venue. There were no sparkling chandeliers or luxurious atmosphere like at the federal meet. A chlorine smell was still strong, but everything felt simpler and more genuine. Clara still maintained her arrogant facade, believing she would win again, dismissing Lena as just a temporary foolish internet sensation that would eventually disappear. In the changing room, Clara stood before the mirror. She adjusted her brand-new swimsuit, but her hands shook slightly. Her gaze no longer held absolute confidence. Instead it was mixed with anxiety and the fear of failure being exposed to the whole world. She closed her eyes, trying to banish the image of Lena's determined face and her mother Eleanor's echoing voice. "You are the pride of our family. A Callahan never loses," she sighed heavily, trying to regain her usual arrogant composure, but it felt like a fragile shell about to crack under pressure. She clenched her hands so tightly her nails dug into her skin, biting her jaw, trying to keep her face emotionless. "I must win. This time I must win at all costs, otherwise I'll lose everything. Mom will never forgive me, this shame, I can't bear it, especially not from someone like her, some unknown black girl." The ready whistle sounded, the stadium falling into a suffocating silence, thousands of eyes fixed on Lena and Clara as if trying to pierce their souls. This time there were no dirty tricks, no interference. Everything was fair. Under the strict supervision of the community and impartial referee, Clara's and Lena's eyes met for a moment. In Clara's eyes hatred mixed with the fear of losing everything still remained, but more clearly there was intense anxiety, a bewildered and somewhat uneasy look, like someone standing at the edge of a career and reputation cliff. Her gaze trembled. She didn't dare look directly. As for Lena's eyes, they held absolute calm, an unquenchable fire of will and an iron determination to prove herself and reclaim justice. The whistle sounded, sharp and powerful, like a signal for a new beginning. Both competitors plunged into the water. Clara still shot forward like a lightning bolt, her powerful strokes and perfect technique on display, but this time every stroke felt heavy with pressure. Water splashed around her, not from power, but from internal struggle. Her face was tense, her eyes constantly darting to the adjacent lane, searching for Lena. Lena swam. Each stroke, each kick was steady, powerful, graceful, like a dance in harmony with the water. This was no longer a race to prove something, but to affirm. She swam with serenity and absolute faith in herself, no chaos or pressure, only freedom and bursting strength. "This is my heartbeat, this is my voice, I won't be silent anymore. I'll swim for justice, for those who believed in me, for my mother, for all those who were looked down upon." Lena gradually closed the gap. Little by little, the cheers from the audience began to change from an assumption of Clara's victory to gasps of surprise as they saw Lena surge forward. Then she convincingly pulled ahead of Clara. The distance widened, meter by meter, like an undeniable declaration. Lena touched the wall first. The touch was strong, decisive, water splashing around her. She looked up, amazement and satisfaction, clearly visible as she saw the scoreboard. New record appeared clearly, undeniably. A satisfied smile brightened her face and Lena's eyes shone with radiant happiness, glistening with tears. Justice, finally justice, I did it, Mom, I proved it. The entire stadium erupted. The audience rose to their feet, applauding thunderously, no longer silent or murmuring. Cheers and shouts of Lena, Lena, Lena filled the hall, blending with a deafening applause that lasted endlessly. Emotional faces, happy tears, victorious smiles spread everywhere, from strangers to those who had supported Lena. The camera panned over Alex Miller's face. He smiled with relief and pride, quickly taking off his glasses to wipe them. The volunteers' faces, their eyes warm and proud, gave a slight nod as silent encouragement. And the veteran athletes who organized the event nodded contentedly, shaking hands in congratulations. Everyone felt satisfied and proud. Amidst the cheering crowd, Lena's mother walked to her daughter's side. Her eyes were tear-filled. She couldn't hold them back. She hugged Lena tightly, squeezing so hard that Lena could feel her mother's rapid heartbeat. My daughter, you did it. You made me proud. Her voice was choked, trembling, hot tears streaming down Lena's cheeks, not just tears of happiness but of liberation, of relief at seeing her silent sacrifice finally paid off. The pain she had endured when she was dismissed, when she was scorned, now vanished in her daughter's victorious embrace. She squeezed Lena tightly as if to compensate for all the disadvantages, all the injustices Lena had suffered. Lena wrapped her arms around her mother, burying her face in her shoulder, fully feeling that love and pride. They stood there, in each other's arms, a symbol of victory, not just in the race, but in life. Clara Callahan stood hidden in the crowd, in the shadows of other athletes congratulating Lena. The Blue Shark Club's glorious towel had fallen from her hand and lay ignored on the floor. She stared at Lena on the podium, her eyes no longer holding contempt but rather a vacant look and even a little real fear. She couldn't believe it. Everything had collapsed. Her mother, Eleanor's voice echoed in her head. A Callahan never loses, but she had lost, fairly in front of everyone. Undeniably, she felt thousands of eyes on her, not with admiration, but with judgment, even pity. Clara quickly turned and walked heavily out of the crowded stands like a banished shadow. As she passed through the exit door, she caught a glimpse of her reflection in the glass. No longer the image of a proud champion, but a girl with a vacant look, slumped shoulders, messy hair, her face smudged with makeup, mixed with tears. A small tear rolled down her cheek, a symbol of the shattering of an illusion. I can't believe it. Everything I had, my status, is it over? What will Mom say? I've lost everything. This feeling of defeat, of being judged, it's worse than any words I've ever spoken. This is me, not the Clara Mom wanted. I hate this feeling, and I hate myself for doing this. Months passed after the Swim for Justice meet. Lena Johnson had become a familiar name in the swimming community, not just for her talent, but for her story of perseverance and integrity. She was invited to schools and community sports centers to speak, inspiring children from similar backgrounds. Lena still maintained her humility and simplicity, but her eyes now held a deep sense of confidence and calm. As for Clara Callahan, her life had completely changed. Her mother Eleanor's pressure did not lessen, it intensified. Eleanor still tried everything to restore the family's prestige, but all efforts were in vain against the tide of public opinion and the truth that had been exposed. Clara was dropped from the prestigious swimming team, and major sponsorship deals vanished. Friends in high society gradually distanced themselves, seeing her as a stain. Clara locked herself in the mansion, not by loneliness. She tried to find herself in her private gym, in her tutoring sessions, but everything felt meaningless. A sense of emptiness and the pressure of failure surrounded her. Some nights she lay awake, staring at the ceiling, haunted by her cruel words to Lena and her mother's disappointed face. Especially the moment she saw Lena's calm, determined gaze when she received the trophy kept returning. For the first time, Clara saw an undeniable truth in the person she had once scorned. One rainy afternoon, Clara drove aimlessly. She accidentally wandered into an old neighborhood with narrow streets and old brick walls. She stopped her car, her gaze sweeping over an empty lot, an abandoned pool, crumbling walls. Murky water. But she saw a familiar figure swimming in that water, strong and graceful like a current. It was Lena. Clara didn't know why she stopped. She turned off the engine, sitting silently, observing. Lena didn't know she was there. Lena continued to swim, each stroke steady, tireless as if releasing all the burdens of life. In that moment, Clara didn't see a loser or a hateful rival. She saw a girl with extraordinary resilience. Someone who found strength and freedom in a place where others saw only decay. For the first time, a feeling of regret crept into her heart. Not for losing status or her mother's approval, but for having judged and scorned such a resilient person. Perhaps this was the beginning of a different path. A path she had never considered. A path to freedom from the shackles of fame and pressure. Join us to share meaningful stories by hitting the like and subscribe buttons. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell to start your day with profound lessons and heartfelt empathy.